Hello and welcome back to Build Your Own Power App Solutions. This part of the course is about Power Virtual Agents. So we're going to look very briefly at Power Virtual Agents. We do have a deeper course on this, Power Virtual Agent Basics, which is based on the Power Virtual Agent in a Day course. We also host Power Virtual in a Day course, so we're really just going to scratch the surface here. But you will get a good understanding, you'll get some hands-on experience of looking at the Power Virtual Agent experience. And then you can build on that if you so wish. So Power Virtual Agents, it's a no-code graphical interface that is aimed at solution matter experts to create bots easily and quickly. We have a client that built a chatbot for an IT help desk, just themselves in Teams. Pretty cool stuff. It's really easy to do, very easy drag and drop. A graphical interface. Enables natural conversations quickly, multi-turn using NLP, and you can integrate with things like Power Automate, which we're going to do in this example, so you can extend what the bot can actually do. And then there are ways to monitor the performance of the bot and make adjustments as necessary to that bot to make it perform better. There are lots and lots of opportunities for using chatbots, increase customer service, deploy them anywhere. You can put them onto websites, embed them into Facebook, embed them into apps, into Teams, deploy them absolutely anywhere. And it's about giving that unified experience of being able to do the same things from many different places. So the core opportunities in business to customer, obviously things like seamless customer services and business to employee. So being able to check your leave balance or checking in is a popular one for things like COVID check-ins. Being able to do things like that through chatbots. There are some key terms with Power Virtual Agents, and we'll look at this when we get to the lab. I'll walk you through some of the different things here. But know that there are these things called topics, and they are they're the intent of what the user is going to do. So it might be update my address, or return an item, or do something. It's a topic of conversation. What does the person want to actually do? And then there's these things called entities, which are things like an email address is an entity. So it's a representation of a real world object, or an address, or a product might be a product name, an entity, a product, for example. So an entity is a representation of a real world thing. You have nodes, which are things that the chatbot does. So it could be things like asking questions, send messages, or the node could end the conversation, or the node could run a Power Automate script, a Power Automate flow. Then you have the variables, which you can create and define so that you can capture data during the conversation or from automations that you create. And you can store these variables inside the chat so they're accessible to different parts of the chat later on. Synonyms are just ways of being able to improve the accuracy of natural language. So for example, you might have an entity that is a return policy. And it may depend on, it's actually a shipping type. You might have an entity called shipping type, which might be standard delivery, same day delivery, or, just those two things, standard delivery and same day delivery. Now, same day delivery might also be known as expedited delivery or fast delivery or urgent delivery, something like that. So you can add synonyms that mean the same thing as same day delivery, and that's how synonyms work. And triggers are the phrases that start a topic. So you can have these trigger phrases that start off a conversation. So it might be, I want to change my address, update my address, give you my address. Like the different trigger phrases start the topic of changing the address. So trigger phrases control when the topic is used. These triggers can be turned on or off, and there are some inbuilt system topics, such as like the greeting, Like, so if someone comes online and just starts to chat, good afternoon, the bot will reply with, oh, hey, how are you doing? Or that kind of thing. So there are system topics that are built in that you can turn them on or off, and trigger phrases control when that topic is actually used. Here are some examples. So the trigger the first one there is greeting. This is a system topic. Hello, hi, I'm a virtual agent. How can I help you? So you see there that the trigger starts that topic of greeting. The trigger phrase is hello, and then we have two nodes, a message, two messages that do things. The second one, check weather. The trigger is what is the weather today? Message is I can help you with that. So that's a node of message. Question, what city do you live in? So you're catching some data that will return an entity of a city that you can then use to go and look up and get the weather. And then goodbye, you've got the trigger of perfect, have a great day, and then thanks for chatting and goodbye. So these are examples of topics, and then those items in there would be configured as nodes. You have this topic authoring canvas that controls the flow. These are the nodes in there. So you have trigger phrases at the top, and then you have these nodes that do various things. And as you can see there, you can have different conditions that control the flow. So here we're asking the user for the state, and then depending on what state they mention, we're then going to go and do different things. So these are nodes. These things here are nodes. So they control how the conversation flows for a topic. So the following nodes are available. So you can ask a question, so it captures a variable to use in the bot. You can call an action, so you can initiate a Power Automate flow, and we'll be doing that in the lab. You can show a message to show just a message without any response required. You can actually go to another topic. So if someone also wants to, so the greeting, in this example, we had the greeting, and then the person asked for the weather. So that was a trigger phrase that started the weather topic. So you can see how we're going to these different topics. And you can end the conversation. So you ask a question, call an action, show a message, go to another topic, or end the conversation. And depending on where in the topic it's been added, you've got different nodes that are available. So it guides you through this in terms of just showing you what you can actually do. So if you can't see a particular node that you want to do, it's probably because you're at a part of the topic that's not applicable. So we have these Power Automate flows. Power Automate flows are ways of automating systems to move data around, and we'll play with it in the lab, and hopefully you're familiar a little bit with Power Automate. And what you can do is you can pass variables in from the chat, and then get output variables from when that Power Automate flow has executed. So in this example here, there's an action for calling a flow, and the flow that we're calling is called get weather forecast, and get weather forecast requires two inputs, a city and a zip code. Now we've asked the person for the city and a zip code, and we're going to pass that into the get weather forecast. Get weather forecast then executes, uses those two inputs to then look up the weather, and then outputs the bit at the bottom there, the outputs the actual weather forecast, which can then be presented to the user in the chatbot. And when you end a conversation, there are two options that you can do. You can either end with a survey to capture data related to their experience. You will have seen these before, where it's got like a star rating that you can ask. So option one is ending with a survey, and option two is to transfer to a live agent. Now this is there's a bit of extra configuration to do to enable this. We're not going to cover that at all in this. We don't even cover it we cover it a little bit in Power Virtual Agent in a day, but we're not going to cover that here. It needs something like Dynamics 365 with omni-channel customer service, but just know that it's possible to set this sort of thing up. So the bot needs to be configured to know where to send the conversation when that option is selected. So more often than not, we'll be using end. Most people will use end with survey. There is a test bot panel right inside the interface that you can build your topics and the authoring canvas, and then you can test your bot. And there is a toggle at the top here called track between topics. And as you're chatting in here, the canvas on the right hand side will actually dart around the different authoring canvases, the different nodes and topics, to show you exactly where you are in the conversation flow. It's really intuitive, really easy to understand where you are and where you're guiding the user in your conversation flow. So once you've built your bot and you've got your topics and your entities and your variables and all of that stuff worked out, and the conversation flow is working nicely, you then need to, of course, publish it. And here are some of the places where you can publish these bots. A number of channels there where you can publish them. Each channel is independently configured, but it will be talking to the same bot, the same structure. Okay, and that's the high-level introduction to Power Virtual Agents. We are going to now do the lab, so join us for that lab exercise. And if this is a topic you're super interested in, then do consider doing our Power Virtual Agents Basics course as well. See you in the lab.